This is UFC 290 preview breakdown of Alexander Volkanovski taking on Yair Rodríguez. This is a great fight, a perfect fight for International Fight Week, and this fight could bring a lot of surprises. Alexander Volkanovski, arguably the featherweight GOAT, 25-2, who has never lost in the featherweight division, is taking on a hard, strong, lethal striker, Yair Rodríguez, who is 16-3. I mean, this fight is going to bring a lot of surprises. We could see Volkanovski dominate this fight and then drop the belt, go up to lightweight, face Islam again, or face Oliveira, Beneil Dariush, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier. A lot of matchups for Volkanovski. Or we could see Yair Rodríguez give Volkanovski his hardest fight ever and take that belt away. I mean, anything can happen. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Volkanovski, who I personally think he's the featherweight GOAT, man. I mean, he beat Chad Mendes, beat Jose Aldo, beat Brian Ortega, beat Korean Zombie, and beat Max Holloway 3 times. How can you deny that? He has never lost in the featherweight division, just outstrikes everybody, uses his grappling if he needs to, and then, who can compete with that? Conor McGregor, yeah, I get his featherweight run, not even question. Jose Aldo, of course, multiple title defenses and amazing accolades on his part, but did he fight the competition like Volkanovski? And then, of course, Max Holloway is always in the conversation for the GOAT for the featherweight division, But I think Volkanovski takes the strap. In my opinion, I could be wrong. Don't hate me. Don't kill me. But Yair Rodríguez, man, let's talk about this. Yair Rodríguez literally might be a replica of Charles Oliveira. And hear me out. You might think, oh, dude, you're crazy. What are you saying? Yair Rodríguez, lethal striker, goes into the range. Crazy offensive power, crazy offensive output, just is throwing constant stuff. Charles Oliveira, crazy output, crazy striking, has power, will constantly kick you, knee you, elbow you, throw punches. That's what Yair Rodríguez does. Replica, right? Then, listen to this. Yair Rodríguez, crazy grappling. He's great off his back, knows how to position himself well, get into ground and pound situations, can always fight and look for a submission. Charles Oliveira, great off his back, always looks for submissions, throws elbows and works off his back to go for something, and good at ground and pound. I mean, replicas, right? But Yair Rodríguez, this is what makes him so scary. He will throw anything, anywhere, at any time. And I did a breakdown in the previous video. If you watched that before you watch this, I talk about how Yair Rodríguez will use elbows and he'll like to go for a T-kick when he fights his opponent, right? So he's going to throw a T-kick, which is a vertical kick, for those who don't know. It's a vertical kick right to you. And the reason why he likes to throw that is because it will open up the fighters on the outside and he can move them, right? And then add in more combinations and shots and look to finish his opponent. So if you go and watch the Josh Emmett and Yair Rodríguez fight, Yair Rodríguez will constantly throw in the beginning of the fight T-kicks. And what that will do is cause Josh Emmett to turtle up almost, like shell up. And then Yair Rodríguez will go for constant calf kicks to demobilize him, or he'll go for a question mark kick. And you see that like 3 or 4 times in the Josh Emmett fight, where he'll throw a T-kick, Josh Emmett will then shell up, and then the next kick Yair Rodríguez uses is a question mark kick, which comes up and then goes over, which is a perfect combination, But Yair Rodríguez, man, crazy striker. And here's the thing, though. Volkanovski, he's not a crazy striker where he's going to throw like random shit and you're like, dude, what are you doing? He's not like a Tony Ferguson or Oliveira or Yair Rodríguez or these crazy fighters that are just going to throw shit just to see if it lands. Volkanovski is very technical, and he's like watching one person who has like 3 or 4 good strikes and just master it, though. And his feint work, man. He moves in, he feints, he's chopping at your legs, throwing the 1-2 combinations, constantly working off, pumping the jab and getting you on the outside. I mean, Volkanovski is a perfect example of a fighter who is just amazing at like 3 or 4 strikes, but uses the hell out of them. But is it likely, here's the question, is it likely Yair Rodríguez beats Volkanovski? Is that possible? It's possible, but is it likely going to happen? Probably not. And why do I think that? I think Volkanovski he's in a new era. I think he is like He's almost like the John Jones in his peak, where he's just destroying people and there's no answer for him. Nobody has a solution. And I get, yes, Makhachev beat Volkanovski, and he had him with the grappling and the weight and all that, but Volkanovski gave Islam Makhachev his hardest challenge ever in the UFC. But strictly in the featherweight division, without weight or size being a big advantage, I don't think anybody could beat Volkanovski. And now, yes, Ilia Topuria, I know he had a great win over Josh Emmett and looked very dominant, and his striking has gotten a lot better, and he even has big power in grappling. But even now, or in a year, I don't see like someone like Ilia Topuria beating Volkanovski. And frankly, I don't see anybody in the featherweight division beating Volkanovski, and I don't think anybody will. My bold prediction is that Volkanovski will remain undefeated in the featherweight division, and no one will take that belt away from him. I just don't see it happening. Like, yeah, Yair could, and, you know, he might get a couple good shots on Volkanovski and hurt him and drop him, but after the Brian Ortega fight, where you see Volkanovski fight out of the guillotine, there's just no way like Volkanovski loses. There's just like no way. Like, I mean, he has came through so much, and you've just seen so much of Volk, of like where he's escaped out of like really bad situations and put himself in good spots where you're like, how can you deny this man? Like, this man always finds a way to win. And even in the Islam Makhachev fight, man, if you go to that 5th round, a minute and a half left, he drops Islam Makhachev and starts ground and pounding him. And Islam Makhachev, if y'all don't remember, he kept on looking up at the clock. Remember, I think it was like 2 minutes left in the 5th round. Volkanovski was grappling with Makhachev, and Makhachev was like dead over his shoulder, looking for the clock, trying to figure out how much time was left. You know, Volkanovski puts his opponents in really bad situations, and he almost makes them he almost beats them to death. There's no like one punch knockout. There's no like all brutal hit and the fighter's done. It's like he has this consistent like 60-70% punches and kick is thrown at you. Throwing. Feint work, movement, like everything. And you just can't keep up with it. And nothing is like killing you on impact, but you're getting hit with a lot of shots where like you're constantly moving so you don't get knocked out, you know? So I think honestly, if I had to make a prediction, not only does Volkanovski beat Yair, but he remains undefeated in the featherweight division. Maybe he fights 1 or 2 more times, which I really doubt it. I think his next fight and his last fight in featherweight will be Ilia Topuria after this fight. I think after this fight, I could see Volkanovski move up to the lightweight division, face Islam Makhachev again in Abu Dhabi, have another attempt at lightweight. Let's say he wins, he's just going to drop the belt. If he loses again, though, to Islam Makhachev, I think he goes back to featherweight again, defends his belt one more time against Ilia Topuria, then calls it a wrap, goes to lightweight full time. And maybe at that time, if he does lose to Islam Makhachev twice, he fights like a Beneil Dariush to get back into it. Rafael Fiziev, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, like one of those fighters, which is possible. It'd be very interesting to see, but it would be a very hard matchup for Volkanovski. I mean, imagine Volkanovski taking on someone like a Justin Gaethje, who's just a crazy brawler, constant leg kicks, constant right hands, just trying to beat you down like a fucking Mack truck. Or like Dustin Poirier, who has amazing boxing. I mean, if you look at the Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier fight, I mean, Max Holloway landed a lot of good shots on Dustin Poirier, but Dustin Poirier's power and his overall striking just overwhelmed Max Holloway. And I think, that could happen to Volk too if he goes up to lightweight full time. So just something we'll have to see. Now, Yair Rodríguez, I don't think this is the end of him. I definitely think he has a lot of life left. I mean, if we go to, his stats and overall, Yair Rodríguez, I think he's 31 years old or something like that. Something super young. Let's pull up his stats. That's Brandon Moreno, wrong fighter. Yair Rodríguez, born in 1992, so he's 31. So, dude, he's still got a lot of life left. Yair Rodríguez, dude, let's say he loses again. He's going to go back. He could have a rematch with Brian Ortega, fight Max Holloway again. There's a lot for Yair Rodríguez to do. Yair could fight Arnold Allen. That'd be a very fun fight if he loses. But Looking at Yair Rodríguez stats, he lands 4.78 significant strikes per 15 minutes, which is pretty good. That's pretty high for a ranked fighter, especially the interim champ. His striking accuracy is 46%, but this is a big thing for Yair Rodríguez. He absorbs 4 significant strikes per 15 minutes. I mean, that is a lot. That is a lot. I mean, if you look at Alexander Volkanovski's stats, he lands 6.35 significant strikes per 15 minutes and only absorbs 3.40 significant strikes per 15 minutes. I mean, that's a big difference. I mean, that's a 3-strike difference right there. And Yair is a 0.7 of a strike difference. So, definitely in this fight, you're going to see Volkanovski land. You should see him land way more strikes than Yair Rodríguez. I mean, Yair's going to take one to give one. So, you should expect that, but who knows what's going to happen. This is going to be a fun fight, man. This is going to be a really fun fight. I definitely think this will be Volk's hardest challenge yet, but I don't see Yair doing anything crazy where we're going to think Volkanovski is done for. I think Volkanovski has this win easily in the bag, but anything can happen, man. It's MMA. Anything can happen. Volkanovski is 5'6" tall, and Yair Rodríguez stands 5 feet 11 inches tall. Very big compared to Volkanovski, but shouldn't be much of a difference. Going into the co-main event. I love this fight, dude. I love this flyweight fight. Brandon Moreno taking on Alexandre Pantoja. Great fight. This is the 3rd fight between the two. Brandon Moreno has lost both times. For those who don't know, Brandon Moreno first fought Pantoja in The Ultimate Fighter. In the first round, it was very close. You could have gave it to Brandon Moreno. I think Brandon Moreno landed like a knee at the end of the first round, which you could have gave it to him. It could have went to either fighter. Going into the second round in the Ultimate Fighter fight, their first fight, Pantoja is getting hit a lot. Goes for a takedown on Brandon Moreno, lands the takedown, then submits Brandon Moreno with a rear naked choke, and that was the end of it, right? Moreno looked good, but, he kind of got messed up with the grappling and then got submitted. Going into the second fight, which I have a video of, which we're going to watch a little bit of, Alex Pantoja beats Brandon Moreno again, and it was pretty much a unanimous decision. I thought all 3 rounds went to Pantoja. I mean, Brandon Moreno, his striking, man, it's not that it's terrible or anything, but it's definitely, at least in this fight, not as good as it is now. He's definitely gotten his striking a lot better. His grappling has gotten a lot better. But this fight did happen in 2018, so we got to realize that 5 years ago. So Brandon Moreno is going to look a lot better now than he did in this fight. But there are some things to be a little concerned about in this fight. So this is going to be round 1 of the fight, 3 minutes in. And the reason why I got this part highlighted, it's because Pantoja lands some good strikes. And this is just the beginning of the round, which I wanted to talk about and show. Get a little bit of volume.
That right hand over the top on the hook.
Pantoja lands really good jabs, but it's like right when he gets in a brawl, he's throwing those uppercuts and the overhand rights, and so it's like you got to be careful. Pantoja is also really good at getting his knees in. Like right when a fighter comes in, he's going to throw a flying knee or go for the ab section, abdominal area. Pantoja is very calm, but the only thing, damn ad, man, these ads. The only thing that scares me about Pantoja though is like Brandon Moreno does have the power to put you out. He really does, and I don't think Pantoja should get in a war with Moreno like this because Moreno's striking has gotten a lot better. His range has gotten a lot better, and he's just overall a better. He just knows how to implement his grappling into his striking. His movement's gotten better. He knows how to change his fight in the fight. He knows how to change his game plan. So that's one thing I would worry about if I was Pantoja. But we're going to go to round 2. Which is 6 minutes 50. I wanted to highlight this. Pantoja right here in this part, I mean, he just lands a lot of strikes. Brandon Moreno, so he lost the first round pretty much just from the grappling, and then there was a takedown. But right here, I mean, Pantoja, he's going for the strikes, 1-2s, 1-2s, and now he's just bum rushing Brandon Moreno. He knows he's hurt, so he's just, fuck it, we're going to brawl. Look how young Brandon Moreno looks, too. See, the one thing I do not like about Brandon Moreno, when you watch him fight, sometimes he doesn't keep his hands on him, on his chin, and roll like a boxing style. He does a thing where he just dips his hand over, or his head down and over, and then he's throwing that right hand. He just did it right there. So anytime Pantoja is throwing that left, the jab, and then gets into reach, Brandon Moreno ducks his head under and then throws the overhand right, and it's like, I mean, if Brandon Moreno is not careful, a knee's going to hit him in the head, which ends up inevitably happening. Pantoja, man, his jab, dude, is just going out there. Bam, bam, bam. Good fighter. Really good fighter, man. And then right here, Pantoja starts putting the strikes on Moreno. Moreno, his jab has gotten way better, too, since 2018. Dang, Moreno's just throwing hammers right now. It's crazy how advanced, like how much a fighter can get progressively better in 5 years. Like how the striking can just develop so good. Like, dude, his footwork is way better now than it was. I mean, look, Brandon Moreno is just staying in one area. He's not turning in. He's not going under. He's not fighting inside of the foot, throwing uppercuts or anything like that. In this area, he's just moving around, just trying to reach. And now you watch him, he's cutting angles and landing really big body shots. And, dude, Brandon Moreno has gotten way better. Anyway, going back to the preview of Brandon Moreno and Pantoja, if I had to pick who I think is going to win this fight, I would go with Pantoja. And the reason why I say this is because I know that they are two different fighters from 5 years ago. But I still think Pantoja can surprise Brandon Moreno more than Moreno can surprise Pantoja. And what I mean by this, it's not by like surprising with shots or striking or whatever, but how much better both of the fighters have gotten since they lost the fight by overall skill set. I think Moreno, from his grappling to his striking, has gotten way better since 2018, right? But I also think Pantoja has too. And I just think Pantoja, overall, just his overall combinations, his slickness, his change from striking to grappling, clinch game, and everything is just a tad bit better than Brandon Moreno. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Moreno wins. He uses his jab well. He knows how to land really good kicks. You see that in the Kai Kara-France fight. But I think Pantoja might catch Moreno in something. And the reason why I say this is because Moreno still has these moments in a fight where, like, he doesn't dominate and he gets hit quite a few times, but he, like, rebounds with a big shot. And I feel like Moreno gets in certain situations where if someone like Pantoja, who has great submission work or maybe even knockout power, which he does, he can catch Moreno in that rhythm, right? So if Brandon Moreno is in the rhythm, and in between that, Pantoja surprises him with either a crazy leg kick or a big bomb or clinches up with Moreno really fast and then goes for the takedown, I think he can finish Moreno. I really do. Now, Brandon Moreno, he should win. He's the favorite by, a little bit, but he's a minus 170. Pantoja's a plus 145. Brandon Moreno has shown great fights against Davison Figueiredo, Kai Kara-France, Brandon Roval. Dude, Brandon Moreno is a dog. Don't get me wrong. I think he's an amazing fighter. I think, if he wins, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm going to go with the underdog on this fight, though. And if I were you, I would choose the underdog. And this is why I say this. Look at Pantoja's last recent fights. Submission neck crank against Alex Perez. Submission rear naked choke against Brandon Roval. Unanimous decision. Knockout punch against Matt Schnell. Dude. Y'all could probably hear my dog. Brandon Moreno and Pantoja, this is going to be a fire fight. But don't overlook or underlook, either or, Pantoja on a finish on Moreno. And that's what I'm calling. I am calling Pantoja to finish Brandon Moreno. And if I had to, really decide or, tell what it's going to be, I would say it's going to be on the ground game. I think Pantoja could wrap up Brandon Moreno. Maybe Pantoja gets hit a couple of times. And Brandon Moreno is, just throwing hammers. Pantoja is going to clinch up with Moreno. Moreno's going to freak out and try and do something. Pantoja is going to take him down and submit him. That's my pick right there. That's what I think is going to happen. I could be wrong. Pantoja is really good. Moreno's really good. But I'm going Pantoja. Now, going in to the Coco main event, Robert Whittaker taking on Dricus du Plessis. Robert Whittaker, who I think, besides Izzy, the greatest middleweight right now. I mean, I don't think anybody can beat Robert Whittaker besides Izzy. Israel Adesanya. Taking on Dricus du Plessis. Now, Dricus du Plessis, I kind of get annoyed a little bit because I feel like a lot of people overhype him up. Yes, I know he has power and he has good striking and he's kind of wild at times and has the strength and the South African power. But at the end of the day, Robert Whittaker is just a better overall fighter in all departments. From striking to grappling to footwork to jiu-jitsu to strength, everything. I think Robert Whittaker is just overall better than Dricus du Plessis. Now, Dricus du Plessis might be stronger in the grappling department, but he doesn't have the skills to actually do or take down whatever Robert Whittaker, because I think Robert Whittaker is just so much farther advanced, right? I think this is a very interesting fight, but if you go to every single Robert Whittaker fight since, his first loss to Israel Adesanya, he's just leveled up more and more. He's gotten more technical, more crisp. His footwork is a little bit better. His patience is way better. I mean, Robert Whittaker is just he's on pace he should be champion. If it wasn't for Israel Adesanya, I mean, Robert Whittaker could have 4, 5, 6 title defenses. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about, but Robert Whittaker really is a great middleweight. But Dricus du Plessis is also good, but I just do not see Dricus du Plessis being a champion, being a number one contender. I think this is a fight where a lot of people are going to see Dricus du Plessis, his skill-wise, is not there yet. I think he's on the same par as Marvin Vettori. They're good fighters, great fighters, but they don't have one skill that stands out and makes them that good, right? It's like almost every fighter needs to have one great thing that they're good at, or overall be amazing at everything, where you don't have to rely on certain situations or whatever, right? Israel Adesanya, great kickboxer, amazing takedown defense, so he's going to be heavy on that. Robert Whittaker, you could say he's pretty much good in everything. His striking is really good, his movement's really good, but it's look at Dricus du Plessis. His striking is all right. His cardio isn't that good. I mean, look at the Derek Brunson fight. Dricus du Plessis was in the first or second round and was getting gassed. And I mean, honestly, if Derek Brunson wasn't such a fucking pussy, if he wasn't just so slow and I don't even know what happened, he was just out of the fight, I think he could have beat Dricus du Plessis. Dricus du Plessis is not that good, man. He's not bad. He's a 5th ranked fighter, but he's not, I don't even think he's top 3. I think if he fought Paulo Costa, I think he loses. I really do. I think if Dricus du Plessis fought Khamzat Chimaev, he would lose. Dricus du Plessis is just not that good, right? He doesn't have that skill or skills to beat Robert Whittaker. So everybody who keeps saying Dricus du Plessis is going to surprise everybody, y'all are wrong, bro. You're wrong. Simple as that. I mean, very similar. Dricus du Plessis 19-2, Robert Whittaker 25-6. I mean, same height relatively. The reach, Dricus du Plessis does have a 2.5 bigger reach than Robert Whittaker. Leg reach is the same. Robert Whittaker is a -360 favorite, which is pretty big. And Dricus du Plessis is a +295 underdog. Also really big. So if I had to give my final thoughts, I think Robert Whittaker smokes Dricus du Plessis. A hard unanimous decision win, 30-27 across the board. And we're going to just see how Dricus du Plessis, he can have some moments where he has power and, he looks good. But you're going to see Dricus du Plessis has no skill compared to the top 3 middleweights. He is slow. His cardio isn't good. And he's not going to be able to do anything on Robert Whittaker that he hasn't seen before. So that's my opinion. Going into the 4th fight on the main card, Jalen Turner, who lost to Gamrot, is taking on Dan Hooker, who had a really good fight against Puelos, I don't know how you say the name, the jiu-jitsu guy who he looked really good against. Dan Hooker freaking leg kicked him to death and stopped him with body kicks. And Jalen Turner, man, the tarantula, man, he's a freak of an athlete. Like, dude, this guy is jacked. He's 6'3", and he's a lightweight. Insane. He has a 77-inch reach. His leg reach is 46 inches, 14-6. I mean, Jalen Turner is a dog. But he is taking on a well-experienced fighter, Dan Hooker, who is 6 foot tall, 75-inch reach. Also a great kickboxer. Trains out of City Kickboxing with Izzy and Brad Riddell and all of them. Jalen Turner, man, if I had to pick who I think is going to win this fight, I would say Jalen Turner. I think Jalen Turner, I mean, he's just a little bit better. He's a little bit, he's just overall a better skilled fighter. He can take a lot of damage. He's a good kickboxer. He has great power. I mean, dude, this man, when he cracks, he cracks. And, you know, his grappling isn't terrible. Obviously, we're not going to see Dan Hooker go for a takedown, but if he needed to use it, I think Jalen Turner can use the clinch game real well. Probably overwhelm Dan Hooker with his weight and power and size and probably end up winning a unanimous decision. Dan Hooker, I mean, he's coming back, dude. Dan Hooker used to be the 5th best lightweight in the division at a time when he fought Dustin Poirier and went into that war when Conor McGregor was still ranked top 5. Dan Hooker's a dog. He really is. He's one of my favorite fighters. I love watching Dan Hooker. I just think he's a really good kickboxer. I mean, that Arnold Allen fight was really bad to watch, and even the Islam Makhachev fight was bad to watch, but I don't think you should sleep on Dan Hooker. I know he is getting older in age, and he's not where he once was, but he's still a great striker. He's taken less fights now per year, which is probably better for his overall development. I still think Dan Hooker has a lot of good wins and a lot of fights left in him. If he beats Jalen Turner, who I think is ranked, Jalen Turner's ranked 10th, and Dan Hooker's ranked 11th in the lightweight division. I do think this will bump Dan Hooker up. He beats Jalen Turner. He's top 10, right? And then maybe look for a fight against Rafael Fiziev, right? That would be a very fun fight to watch. Or see a rematch if Chandler will probably fight a higher guy, but Dan Hooker could also fight someone like Michael Chandler, have a rematch of that, because we all know that first fight was kind of bullshit, but that's whatever. And then, you know, maybe Dan Hooker can get 2 or 3 wins after this Jalen Turner and hopefully fight for a championship fight. If Jalen Turner wins, I would probably like to see him fight Rafael Fiziev. That would be a really good fight. RDA would be another fun fight. Or see Justin Gaethje and Jalen Turner. That'd be a crazy striking affair. I do think Dan Hooker can do it. I think he has a chance, but if I had to pick, I'm going with Jalen Turner. Unanimous decision, I would say 30-27 across the board. I think Jalen Turner's power will probably just be a little overwhelming for Dan Hooker. I think Dan Hooker will land a lot of good shots. He'll probably eat up the legs of Jalen Turner, but I'm going to edge with Jalen Turner on this one if I had to put money on it. I'd like to see Dan Hooker win it, but I think Jalen Turner will. Then going into the opening fight, boy, look at these odds. Bo Nickal, a minus 1250 favorite, which you never see, taking on Tresean Gore, who is a plus 800 underdog. You should expect Bo Nickal in the first minute of the fight go for a single leg takedown, put his hooks in, be on top mount, and beat the shit out of Tresean Gore. I don't think Tresean Gore's grappling is going to be as good as Bo Nickal's, obviously. Tresean Gore might land a couple good shots, but I think Bo Nickal, I mean, dude, you're just starting to see it. His game is just getting better every fight. I mean, his striking does need work on, but that's typical for elite level wrestlers, their striking usually gets better in their second half of their career because they're trying to figure out that transition from grappling to striking. If you watch Bo Nickal fight, I mean, dude, he has a hard time with going from grappling to striking to grappling without getting punched a lot or keeping his hands up. Or there's a lot of, you can tell, slack. There's a lot missing. But Bo Nickal's still a great fighter. I think he'll win 4-0, turn that to 5-0 for the first fight of the card. This was quite a long video, 30-plus minutes, but I wanted to give my breakdown on Volkanovski versus Rodríguez. I think this is going to be a really good card. If you haven't subscribed yet, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Like I said in the last reaction video of Conor McGregor, I'm going to try and do one of these every week or every 2 weeks. Really just this a video of me breaking down the fights in a shitty way, giving you my picks, and hopefully you like it. I mean, if you don't, fuck it. Hit the dislike button, man. I mean, what can I'm trying to make it. I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I know MMA and shit, but YouTube shit, I don't know what I'm doing. But please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Comment in the section who you think will win. I'm going with Volkanovski, Pantoja, Robert Whittaker, Jalen Turner, Bo Nickal. If I'm 5 for 5, y'all better start choosing my picks when y'all gamble. Okay, DraftKings, Prize Picks. Use the code DoubleMove MMA. Y'all know what's going on. Thank you. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend. And stay hard.